Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. The Tennessee Volunteers. And if you listen to this show, listen, I like Tennessee coming into the year. They're coming off a solid season a year ago. Josh Heupel, to me, coming into this season, had established himself as a very good college football coach, a guy that is elevating Tennessee. And there was obviously so much excitement in the offseason. You get not one, but two elite quarterback commitments, one in the class of 25, one in the class of 26. You get the number one offensive tackle in America, David Sanders, committed. And so it's just obvious the momentum in this program is heading in the right direction. But there are a lot of programs that pick up momentum in the offseason. And the question is, what happens when you take the field in September? Well, in the case of Tennessee, the momentum is only picking up steam as they are now 2-0, two dominant wins, including what I think you have to consider right up there with Texas as the best win of the weekend, as they head down to Charlotte, neutral field, NC State, a game that Tennessee fans were maybe a little worried about coming into the season. Yeah, nothing to fear, never fear when Nico is here, baby. That is right. Tennessee takes care of business, 52-10. And here's the crazy part. Nico was really good, but so was literally every other part of that football team. And I'm here to tell you, I really look at Tennessee and I sit there and say, this is the most underrated team in college football. And I think they are a team that is not only going to be in the mix for the playoff. If I had to put together a 12-team bracket right now, they are in because they are underrated and they are going to continue to prove it over the course of the season. And so looking at NC State, listen, it all starts with Nico. I'm going to try the name again. Tried it on Wednesday's show. Got killed by Tennessee fans. Is it Nico Iamaleava? Iamaleava, whatever it is. The kid is incredible. Every time I say it, I get it wrong. Tennessee fans yell at me. I know how good the kid is. And on Saturday evening, the kid was awesome. 16 of 23 passing, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns. But here's the crazy part. He had 2 interceptions. I don't really care about those because one of them, his hand got hit, popped in the air, pick 6 the other way. But beyond that, what I loved is the poise and confidence. We talked about it a little bit with Dylan Raiola a minute ago. It's not always the big flashy plays. It's not always the 70-yard pass downfield. What it often is, however, is how do you handle adversity? How do you come back when your back is against the wall, when people are frustrated, when you just made a bad play, when you're frustrated with yourself? And Nico was awesome. But to me, the story isn't really about Nico. It's about everybody else because Nico's going to get the headlines. Nico's going to be talked about because he's a future first-round NFL draft pick at the quarterback position for Tennessee. But what impresses me about that Tennessee win, look at everybody else in this game. First of all, Dylan Sampson, if you do not know the name, listen, I'm not saying this is like a Leinart Reggie Bush situation. It would not stun me to see both these guys, both Nico and Dylan Sampson, later in the year in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but this kid has been phenomenal. 20 carries, 132 yards, 6.5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. As a team, Tennessee finishes with 249 yards rushing. And this is the second straight 100 rushing yard game for Dylan Sampson. And this is the second game where Tennessee has finished with 240 plus yards rushing. They had 300 yards rushing against Chattanooga last week. And when I look at Tennessee, that's part of what stands out. And this reminds me of a lot of what we talked about last year. So a lot of last year, you go back 2 seasons ago, you have success with Hendon Hooker. Everybody thinks all Tennessee does is they just throw the ball around the field 60 times a game. 1, that's not what they did with Hendon Hooker. But 2, last year, you had Joe Milton. It's no disrespect. We know his strengths. We know his weaknesses. We know his limitations. And all Josh Heupel did was say, you know what? We can't be a team that is defined by our quarterback. We have to be a team that runs the football effectively and plays field position, ball control offense. Well, what ends up happening? Tennessee last year leads the SEC in rushing. Tennessee last year has one of the best defenses in the SEC, and they managed to win games despite the offensive deficiency at quarterback. Well, fast forward, we already talked about Nico. We talked about the run game. We know how good the wide receivers are. Here's the crazy part. How about this? The fact that Tennessee's defense is elite as well. 51-10 is a final score. It looks good enough on paper. Do you know that Tennessee finished this game giving up? Are you ready for this? Take a guess. Just take a wild stab. They put up 51 points. NC State scores 10 points. They must have given up probably, 250 yards or whatever. No big deal. How about this? 143 yards of total offense for NC State. This is a team. Grayson McCall was one of the most coveted transfers in the portal at quarterback. By the way, this is a team that put up 38 points, in their season opener against Western Carolina. This is a team that was picked by many to compete at the top of the ACC. 143 points. And here's the other thing. I mentioned it a minute ago. NC State had a pick 6 for a touchdown. Not great at math, but if they scored 10 points, 7 of them came on defense. It means that the 7, came on from the NC State defense, which means that the Tennessee defense did not let NC State into the end zone. Okay. So this was a complete effort. This was a dominant effort, and it speaks to what I said a minute ago. I think there's this perception outside Tennessee. It's just this fun offense that's kind of cute, and they put up 60 at Alabama a few years ago, and it's cool, but let's see what happens when they play real teams. Well, they played a real team on Saturday, and that real team had no answers on offense or defense. And when I look at this Tennessee team, I don't just think they're good. I think they're one of the more complete teams that I have seen in college football this year. And I think they are a team that is built to have high-level success all season long. Now, listen, I'm not going to do what everybody else is going to do in mid-September and start going through the schedule and saying, well, this is definitely a win, and that's definitely a win, and what about that, and what about this, and that's going to be a 50-point blowout. Listen, it's the SEC. Every game is tough. You got Oklahoma on the road in a few weeks. By the way, I don't think Arkansas is a pushover in a few weeks, but I just bring it up because there is just so much optimism about this team, and to me, it not only starts with the quarterback, but I think what is important to note, it starts with the quarterback, but it's not just the quarterback. In other words, there are a lot of good players on this team. They can run the football. They can defend. They can beat you low scoring. They can beat you high scoring. They put up 51 points. That defense, by the way, here's a crazy stat, has not given up a defensive touchdown, has not given up a touchdown in 3 straight games. 0 points against Iowa, 3 points against Chattanooga, 10 points against NC State when NC State only scored on defense. I love this Tennessee team. Be excited, Vols fans. There is a lot to be excited about, and it ain't slowing down with Nico, with the recruiting, and with the roster that you have. Josh Heupel is that dude. I think Josh Heupel is as good as any coach right now going pretty much in all of college football. I'm not going to compare him to Kirby, but you get the point. Elite coach. Tennessee fans, you are just so lucky to have him.